De Vries' career in jeopardy. Nyck De Vries came into F1 as a promising young talent after a stellar performance at the 2022 Italian Grand Prix, replacing Alex Albon. Many people, including Dr. Helmut Marko, believed he can be next big thing, and that's why for this season he got a permanent seat for AlphaTauri. But a few races into the new season, things are looking grim for the Dutch driver as his future in the sport is uncertain to say the least. Whether or not he can improve, only time will tell, but for the time being, Nyck De Vries has apparently overpromised and underdelivered. Will his career in Formula 1 be a very short one, or will there be some light at the end of the tunnel? Join us as we explore this young driver. 2023 has been a rough ride for Nyck De Vries so far. His performance, marked by a lack of energy and precision, has left much to be desired, and his track record, peppered with less than stellar results, speaks volumes. After 4 races, he's at the tail end of the championship, and his misadventures in Baku, which include 2 crashes, one resulting in him bowing out of the race, only deepen the concern. Speaking candidly, the underwhelming nature of De Vries' journey stems from the high bar of expectations set for him. What's interesting is that he isn't your typical early 20s rookie fresh off some Formula 2 triumphs. De Vries carries with him the mantle of experience, 3 years older than both Leclerc and Verstappen, and has tasted victory in both Formula 2 and Formula E. In the grand scheme of things, this backdrop is what makes his performance thus far, in my eyes, even more disappointing compared to Nikita Mazepin's 2021 run. It's like expecting a gourmet meal and being served fast food instead. It's not bad, but it's certainly not what you'd hoped for. While Mazepin's 2021 initiation in the racing world was undeniably lackluster, with him qualifying last and finishing last in his first 4 races, it's crucial to keep the context in perspective. First and foremost, the 2021 Haas was far from being a reliable speedster. On the contrary, it was a challenge to handle, evidenced by the numerous crashes and spins by both rookies throughout the season. Additionally, Haas had seemingly thrown in the towel for 2021, focusing their resources on the 2022 car, in line with the new regulations. Yet what stood out was the complete absence of expectations surrounding Mazepin. No one predicted him to be a trailblazer. Quite the opposite, his abysmal performance was somewhat anticipated, and this is why, from my standpoint, De Vries' current state feels more disappointing. On paper, his performance doesn't seem as dire as Mazepin's, but considering his season status and a well-decorated career, he entered the season amid high hopes. This disparity between expectations and reality is what makes his season's commencement feel like a letdown, even if it's not as dreadful as it might appear. In Bahrain, De Vries' presence was largely unnoticed. He secured the P19 position in qualifying, lagging more than 7/10 behind Yuki, and despite crossing the finish line at P14 in the race, it's worth noting that his competitors trailing him either retired or faced issues. Jeddah, in my opinion, doesn't hold too much weight against him because he was the sole driver who hadn't previously navigated Jeddah's course, a precarious situation considering the track's tight high-speed layout with unyielding walls. Compounding this was the unreliability he encountered during practice, further shrinking his already limited time on the track, but despite these setbacks, he managed to qualify at P18, only trailing Yuki by 3/10 and navigated to a drama-free P14 finish. Australia hinted at a possible turnaround. De Vries made it to Q2 for the first time, bagging the P15 spot in qualifying, just 2/10 shy of Yuki. His race performance was a mixed blessing. He was more involved in the thick of the action, which was encouraging, but was also ensnared in several incidents and eventually got caught in Logan Sargent's crosshairs during the final restart. However, any optimism stemming from Australia was swiftly quelled in Baku. Baku saw De Vries outpaced once more by Yuki Tsunoda, both in qualifying and the newly introduced sprint shootout, pushing his single-lap deficit this season to 0-5. His woes compounded when he clipped Yuki's car during the sprint, damaging Yuki's front wing and indirectly causing a subsequent crash. Nyck's own fortunes nosedived in the Grand Prix when he crashed, while Yuki managed to secure the team's second point of the season. Let's not forget, Yuki was the one stepping into the 2023 season amidst a storm of uncertainty, because after 2 challenging seasons against Gasly, where he was outscored by a staggering 133 points to 44, team boss Franz Tost made it clear that Yuki had to secure Q3 regularly and consistently consistently land in the top 10. Rising to the occasion, Yuki has undoubtedly delivered, leaving Nyck in his dust. It's like watching a promising newcomer steal the show, while the seasoned veteran struggles to keep up. Unexpected and a little disheartening. To be honest, Nyck De Vries' entry into F1 has always been a story of two halves. On one hand, his showing at Monza was commendable, albeit it was a race where 9 drivers were penalized due to power unit issues. His junior record stands strong with the 2019 Formula 2 title under his belt, but it's hard to forget how he was eclipsed by the class of 2018, consisting of George Russell, Lando Norris and Alex Albon, just a year before his own victory. Sure, he claimed the Formula E World title in 2021, but the qualifying format at the time placed the leading drivers at a disadvantage, leading to a tighter race than natural circumstances would dictate. The 2022 season saw the controversial format ditched, just in time for his teammate, ex-McLaren F1 driver Stoffel Vandoorne, to outshine him and seize the title. Adding to De Vries' challenge is the exceptional crop of junior talent seen over the past 5 or so years. Max Verstappen is already carving his name among the F1 legends. Russell, Norris and Charles Leclerc are likely to be the sport's pillars for at least the next decade. Carlos Sainz Jr. and Gasly have proven their mettle with race victories. The bar has been raised so high that even Mick Schumacher, who often held his own against Kevin Magnussen at Haas, exited after just 2 seasons. Nyck's conundrum lies in the fact that most of his contemporaries entered the fray between the ages of 16 to 21, a stage where inexperience and associated hiccups are not just expected, but even somewhat forgiven. However, when you debut in F1 at 28, already boasting a single-seater world championship against numerous F1 great drivers, you're expected to arrive fully formed. Unfortunately, Nyck has been trailing behind the pack since the commencement of his inaugural full season. Adding salt to the wound is Red Bull's replenished academy. I believe one of the factors that favored Nyck's recruitment was Liam Lawson's uncertain super license status at the time, and Dr. Marko's overtures towards IndyCar's Colton Herta seemed more like a desperate gambit than a serious vote of confidence in the series' talent pool last year. Fast forward to now, and the landscape has changed as Lawson has secured his super license and made history by winning his Super Formula debut, a feat unachieved in 45 years. Ayumi Iwasa is in the running for the title in his 2nd year in F2, typically a good indicator of a driver's potential. Not far behind, Zane Maloney, Dennis Hauger and Isaac Hadjar all demonstrate promise. Red Bull's talent production line is humming along at full steam once again. Indeed, it's still early days for all these drivers, Nyck De Vries included, mostly because the team's notable underperformance this season has certainly provided a buffer for some of Nyck's subpar form. When the departing boss, Franz Tost, admits to having lost trust in his engineers, it doesn't exactly bode well for morale. The heat will inevitably intensify around the summer break, and sometimes a single favorable outcome, just 1 point scoring finish, can provide the necessary confidence boost to set the wheels of progress in motion. With Laurent Mekies, Ferrari sporting director, on the horizon, AlphaTauri appears to be gearing up for a comprehensive overhaul, which might offer Nyck a little breathing room. However, one cannot overlook the fact that racing for Red Bull, under the watchful gaze of Helmut Marko, comes with its own set of pressures. Your F1 future can evaporate in the blink of an eye, and if Nyck fails to demonstrate the prowess that earned him championships in Formula 2 and Formula E, and his performance continues to falter, given Red Bull's reputation for cutthroat decisions, wouldn't it be a shock if he failed to make it to the final showdown in Abu Dhabi? Racing for a team like Red Bull is like performing on a high wire act. One misstep and you could plummet. Nyck needs to find his balance quickly and start showing the world the champion that we know he can be. What do you think? Can Nyck De Vries turn things around and finally start proving his talent to everyone in the grid and in the paddock? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and we will see you next time.